The security guard's hand was already on Marcus's shoulder. "Sir, you need to leave. Now!" Marcus hadn't even touched the piano yet. He was just standing there, in the lobby of the Grand Continental Hotel, staring at the gleaming black instrument under the crystal chandelier. His clothes were worn, his shoes had holes, his hands were shaking. Behind him, 50 people had already tried. Businessmen in $1,000 suits, a woman who claimed she studied at Juilliard, a teenager with millions of TikTok followers. All of them sat down at that piano with confidence. All of them walked away empty-handed. The sign next to the piano was simple. "Play one song that moves me to tears. Win $1 million. The challenge had been up for 3 days. Nobody knew who put it there. Nobody knew who was judging. But everyone wanted that money, and nobody thought a homeless man had any right to try. "I said move along." The guard's grip tightened, but then a voice cut through the lobby, cold, sharp, powerful. "Let him play." Every head turned. A woman stood near the elevator dressed in black, her eyes red like she'd been crying for days. This was her hotel, her piano, her $1 million. And somehow she knew something nobody else did. What happened next would break the internet. It would make grown men weep. It would expose a truth so painful, so beautiful, that the world would never forget the name Marcus Webb. But to understand why his fingers on those keys changed everything, you need to know how a man ends up homeless with a gift that could shake heaven itself. Let me show you exactly how this happened. 3 days earlier, the challenge appeared. No announcement, no press release. Just a piano rolled into the lobby of one of Manhattan's most expensive hotels, with a handwritten sign and a velvet rope around it. By noon, a line stretched out the door. The rules were pinned to a black board. Play any song you want. One attempt, only you must make the judge cry. The judge will remain anonymous. Winner receives $1,000 cash. Social media exploded. News crews arrived. Everyone had a theory. Was it a publicity stunt, a social experiment, some eccentric billionaire's game? But the woman who set up the challenge wasn't playing games. Her name was Diane Winters, 53 years old, owner of the Grand Continental for 27 years. Her face was known in business magazines, at charity galas, in rooms where decisions shaped the city. But 3 days ago, she buried her son, 31 years old. Overdose. Gone. And she couldn't cry. Not at the funeral, not at the burial, not when she touched his cold hand one last time. Something inside her had frozen solid. The grief was there, crushing her chest, but the tears wouldn't come. Her therapist said it was shock. Her sister said, give it time. But Diane knew the truth. She'd forgotten how to feel. Years of building empires, making hard decisions, cutting people loose to protect her business, it had cost her something. And now, when she needed to mourn her own child, she had nothing left. So she made a deal with herself, with God, with the universe. If someone can make me feel again, they can have everything. She chose music because her son loved music. She chose a public challenge because she was desperate. And she chose $1 million because it was the only language people understood. By day 3, she'd heard everything. Classical pieces performed perfectly but cold. Pop songs played with technical skill, but no soul. A man even played her son's favorite song, and she felt nothing. She was beginning to think she'd stay frozen forever. Then Marcus walked in from the cold. Marcus Webb hadn't always been homeless. 7 years ago, he was a music teacher at Riverside Middle School in Brooklyn. He had an apartment, a daughter who visited on weekends, a piano in his living room where he'd play after dinner, windows open, neighbors stopping on the sidewalk to listen. He taught kids who came from nothing, kids who'd never touched an instrument before, kids the system had already given up on. And he reached them. Not with scales or theory or classical technique, but with feeling, with truth. He taught them that music wasn't about being perfect. It was about being honest. You play what's in here, he'd say. tapping his chest. Not what's in the book. His students won competitions, got scholarships, stayed in school when they were thinking about dropping out. But Marcus had a problem. He couldn't ignore what he saw. A kid coming to class with bruises, a girl falling asleep at her desk because she was working 2 jobs to help her mom, a boy who stopped talking after his brother got shot. Marcus didn't just teach them music, he fought for them. He called child services, he confronted parents, he testified in court, he used his own money to buy them food, clothes, instruments, and the system hated him for it. "You're not a social worker, Mr. Webb, you're a music teacher." That's what the principal said the day Marcus got suspended. A parent had complained, said Marcus was overstepping boundaries, getting too involved in family business. The parent was connected. The school board took their side. Marcus fought back. He wrote letters, made calls, even went to the news. But the more noise he made, the worse it got. They found reasons to push him out, budget cuts. Position eliminated. His contract wasn't renewed. At 56 years old, Marcus lost his job, then his apartment. Then his daughter stopped calling because she was ashamed. The streets swallowed him whole. But here's what nobody knew. Marcus never stopped playing. Every public piano in New York City, train stations, parks, hotel lobbies, Marcus knew them all. Late at night, when security wasn't watching, he'd sit down and play. Not for money, not for attention, for survival. Because when you've lost everything, music is the only thing that reminds you you're still human. He'd played at Grand Central Station and made commuters miss their trains. He'd played in Washington Square Park and watched strangers hug each other. He'd played outside a hospital once and a nurse came running out, crying, saying her patient heard it in his room and smiled for the first time in weeks. Marcus's fingers held magic. But the world only saw his clothes. So when he walked into the Grand Continental that afternoon, cold and hungry, just hoping to get warm for a few minutes, he didn't expect anyone to let him near that piano. He certainly didn't expect what happened when the woman in black said, "Let him play." But if you think that was heartbreaking, wait until you see what came next. The lobby went silent. Not the polite silence of anticipation. The ugly silence of judgment. People whispered. Phones came out. A woman moved her purse closer. A man laughed and said, "This should be good." The security guard stepped back, but he kept his hand near his radio. Marcus stood there looking at the piano like it might disappear if he blinked. "Go ahead," Diane said from across the lobby. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. Marcus walked forward slowly. His shoes squeaked on the marble floor. When he reached the bench, he paused. "Ma'am," he said, not looking at anyone, I'm not trying to cause trouble. I just want to play." "Then play." He sat down. His hands hovered over the keys. They were rough hands, scarred knuckles, dirt under the nails. Hands that had slept on concrete and dug through dumpsters and held cardboard signs. But when they touched those keys, everything changed. The first note rang out like a church bell. Deep, clear, certain. Then another, and another. People stopped whispering. The man who'd laughed wasn't laughing anymore. Because what came out of that piano wasn't just music. It was a life story. Marcus didn't play a famous song. He didn't play classical or jazz or anything anyone could name. He played something he'd been composing in his head for 7 years. Every cold night, every hungry morning, every moment someone looked through him like he wasn't there. He played loss. The melody started soft and high, like a child's voice. Happy notes, innocent notes. Then it shifted. Minor chords creeping in like shadows. The tempo changed. Faster. Urgent, like running from something. Then came the bass notes, heavy, crushing, the sound of doors closing, of chances dying, of falling and falling with nobody to catch you. People in the lobby felt it in their chest. A businessman loosened his tie. A mother pulled her child closer. The security guard's eyes went wide. But Marcus wasn't finished. His hands moved faster, dancing across the keys with impossible grace. The music swelled. It wasn't angry anymore. It was defiant. It was 7 years of refusing to give up. 7 years of playing in the dark because the music wouldn't let him quit. And then, so quietly people had to hold their breath to hear it, came the hope. One note, repeated, soft as a whisper. You're still here. You're still here. You're still here. The note grew. Other notes joined it. The melody climbed higher, like sunrise after the longest night. Marcus's eyes were closed. Tears ran down his face. His whole body rocked with the music. And across the lobby, Diane Winters felt something crack inside her chest. Her hand went to her throat. Her breath caught, because she knew this feeling. It was the exact feeling she'd had the day her son was born, the day he took his first steps, the day he played his first note on the guitar she'd bought him. Pure, overwhelming, impossible to contain. The last chord rang out. Marcus held it, letting it fill every corner of the lobby, letting it echo off the marble and crystal and expensive art. Then silence. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Marcus opened his eyes. He looked at his hands like he didn't recognize them. And Diane Winters collapsed into a chair and sobbed, not gentle tears, not quiet grief. She wailed. She shook. 7 days of frozen agony poured out of her all at once. The lobby erupted. People cheered. Some were crying, too. Phones recorded everything. The security guard wiped his eyes and turned away. But Marcus just sat there, staring at the piano, whispering, "Thank you. Thank you. Thank you." He wasn't talking to the crowd. He was talking to the music, for saving his life one more time. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, something incredible happened. Diane couldn't stop crying. Staff rushed over. Someone brought water. Her assistant tried to help her stand, but Diane waved them all away. She walked across the lobby, straight to Marcus. People backed away, giving them space. Cameras kept rolling. Marcus stood up quickly, almost knocking over the bench. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to—" "What's your name?" Her voice was raw. "Marcus Webb." "Marcus Webb." She said it like she was memorizing it. "How long have you been homeless?" The question hit the room like a slap. People shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't supposed to be part of the show. 7 years, ma'am." "And you've been playing piano all that time?" "Yes, ma'am. Whenever I can." Diane nodded slowly. She reached into her jacket and pulled out an envelope. The envelope. The one that held the check for $1 million. She held it out to him. Marcus stared at it like it might bite him. "I can't," he whispered. "Why not?" "Because," his voice cracked, "because I didn't do it for the money. I did it because I had to. Because playing is the only time I feel like I'm still worth something." The lobby was so quiet you could hear the chandelier crystals tinkling. Diane's tears started again. "My son died last week." Marcus's face crumpled with compassion. "I'm so sorry." "He was 31. He struggled with addiction. I tried everything. Rehab, therapy, tough love. Nothing worked. And the day he died, I wasn't there. I was at a business meeting, choosing money over my own child." Her voice broke. "I couldn't cry at his funeral. I couldn't feel anything. I thought I'd lost the ability to be human. And then you sat down at that piano and played everything I've been too broken to say." She grabbed his hands, his dirty, scarred, beautiful hands. "You gave me my grief back. You gave me permission to feel. You reminded me what matters." She pressed the envelope into his palm. "This money can't bring my son back, but maybe it can save you. Maybe that's what he would have wanted, for his mother to finally see what's right in front of her." Marcus's knees buckled. He sat down hard on the piano bench. "I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything. Just promise me something." "Anything. Keep playing, because the world needs what you have, And people like me need to remember we're not just machines. We're human beings who were put here to feel things, to connect, to see each other. She looked around the lobby, at all the people watching, at all the phones recording. He's not homeless because he's lazy, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. He's not on the street because he's broken. He's there because he sacrificed everything to protect children nobody else cared about. And instead of thanking him, we pushed him out. She turned back to Marcus, but not anymore. You take this money, you get back on your feet, and you teach again. Because those kids need you. Marcus couldn't speak. He just held the envelope and cried. But Diane wasn't finished. And I'm offering you something else. I own 3 hotels in this city. Every single one has a lobby piano. I want you to be our artist in residence. Play whenever you want. Teach workshops for kids. Show people that music isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. The crowd burst into applause. Marcus stood up. He pulled Diane into a hug. This rich white woman who could have ignored him. This grieving mother who saw past his clothes to his soul, and she hugged him back, tight, like he was the son she'd lost. The video went viral within an hour, 10 million views by midnight. Every news outlet picked it up. People shared it with captions like, "This is what humanity looks like," and "I can't stop crying," and "We need more of this." But the real story was just beginning. Because what Marcus did with that $1 million changed everything. So what does all this mean for us today? 2 weeks after that day, Marcus stood in front of a brand new building in Brooklyn. The sign above the door read, "The Webb Center for Music and Hope." He didn't keep the $1 million for himself. He used it as seed money for a nonprofit, a place where homeless musicians could come to practice, teach, and heal. A place where kids from struggling neighborhoods could learn instruments for free. A place where music wasn't a luxury, it was medicine. Donations poured in after the video went viral. Other hotels offered their pianos. Music stores donated instruments. Famous musicians showed up to teach workshops. But Marcus's daughter showing up meant more than all of it. She'd seen the video. She'd watched her father play. She'd read the comments from his former students, now adults, talking about how Mr. Webb changed their lives. She came to the center one afternoon, tears in her eyes, and said, "Dad, I'm sorry. I was ashamed of the wrong thing." They rebuilt their relationship one conversation at a time, and Marcus went back to teaching, not in a school with bureaucracy and politics, but in his center, where he made the rules, where the only requirement was showing up with an open heart. His first student was a 15-year-old girl named Jasmine. She'd been living in a shelter with her mom, never touched a piano before. "I don't know if I can do this," she said. Marcus smiled. "You don't have to be good. You just have to be honest." 6 months later, she performed at the center's first recital. She played a song she wrote about her mom, about being scared and hopeful at the same time. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. The center grew. More students, more teachers, more proof that when you give people a chance to express their pain, their joy, their truth, they transform. But here's what the story really teaches us. We live in a world that measures worth by appearances, by bank accounts and job titles and social status. We see someone in worn clothes and we make assumptions. We see someone struggling and we look away. Marcus Webb was invisible for 7 years. Thousands of people walked past him, ignored him, judged him, never once thinking that the man on the corner might have more talent in his pinky finger than they'd ever have in their whole body. How many other Marcus Webbs are out there right now? How many teachers, artists, healers, and dreamers have we thrown away because they don't fit our narrow definition of success? The story challenges us to look deeper, to see people, to understand that homelessness is not a moral failing. It's often the consequence of a person caring too much in a world that punishes compassion. And it reminds us that gifts don't disappear just because circumstances change. Marcus didn't lose his talent when he lost his apartment. He didn't stop being valuable when society labeled him worthless. He kept playing, in the dark, in the cold, with nobody watching. Because real artists don't create for applause. They create because they must. Because the alternative is death, not physical death, but the death of the spirit. Diane Winters learned something too. That grief isn't the enemy, numbness is. That success means nothing if you've lost your humanity in the process. That the things we think make us strong, the walls we build, the emotions we suppress, the people we overlook, actually make us weak. She got her tears back that day, but she got something more important. She got herself back. The video of Marcus playing has been watched over 50 million times now. People from every country, every background, every walk of life, all moved by the same thing. The sound of pure humanity. No filters, no pretense, just one broken man sitting at a piano and telling the truth. And that truth cracked something open in millions of people. It reminded them that beneath all our differences, all our struggles, all our pain, we're all just trying to feel something real. Music does that. Art does that. Honest human connection does that. But we have to be willing to see it, to hear it, to let it in. Before we wrap up, there's one final truth you need to hear. 6 months after the center opened, Marcus got a letter. It was from a woman named Patricia, 72 years old. She'd seen the video. The letter said, "I was one of the parents who complained about you at Riverside Middle School. My grandson was in your class. You called child services on my daughter. I was so angry. I wanted you fired, and I got my wish." Marcus's hands shook as he read. "But 3 years ago, my daughter got clean. She's been sober ever since. She says it's because you cared enough to intervene, because you didn't look away when it was easier to do nothing. My grandson is in college now, studying music. He says you're the reason." The letter continued. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry it took me so long to understand. You lost everything because you tried to save my family. And you did save us. We just couldn't see it." She'd enclosed a check. Not for much, just $500. Her Social Security check. "I know it's not enough," she wrote, "but it's all I have. Please use it for the center, and please forgive me." Marcus sat in his small office and cried. Not because of the money, because the circle was complete. The children he'd fought for were okay. The sacrifices he'd made weren't in vain. The 7 years of suffering had meaning. He framed the letter, put it on the wall where his students could see it. Beneath it, he added a quote, "The world breaks everyone, and afterward, some are strong at the broken places." Marcus was stronger now, not because the breaking didn't hurt, but because he refused to let it make him bitter. He could have been angry at the school system, at the parents who got him fired, at the society that made him invisible. But anger would have killed the music, and the music was all he had. So he chose differently. He chose to keep playing, to keep caring, to keep believing that people were worth fighting for, even when they couldn't fight for themselves. Today, the Webb Center serves over 300 students. 15 of them have gotten full scholarships to music schools. 23 have reconciled with family members. 8 have found housing. Dozens have found purpose. Diane Winters sits on the board. She and Marcus have become close friends. She says he taught her more about business than any MBA program ever could. Real leadership, she tells people, isn't about profit margins. It's about seeing the humanity in everyone you meet, even the people, especially the people, that society tells you don't matter. The Grand Continental still has its lobby piano, and every Thursday night, Marcus plays. Not for money, not for fame, for connection. People come from all over to hear him. They sit on the marble floors. They lean against columns. They close their eyes and let the music wash over them. And sometimes, they cry. Not because they're sad, because they're finally letting themselves feel, because Marcus's story gave them permission to be broken and whole at the same time. The video still circulates. New people discover it every day, and the comments never stop. "I was going to give up. This saved my life. I've been ignoring a homeless man on my corner. Tomorrow I'm going to talk to him. I'm a teacher who's been thinking about quitting. This reminded me why I started. I forgot how to cry after my dad died. I watched this and it all came out. Thank you. One story, one man, one piano, and 50 million people reminded that beneath all our armor, all our pain, all our fear, we're still capable of beauty. Marcus Webb didn't play one song to win $1 million. He played to remind us we're all still human. And in a world that tries so hard to make us forget, that's worth more than any prize. The last time I spoke to Marcus, I asked him what he'd say to people watching his story. He thought for a long time. Then he smiled. Tell them to pay attention. Not just to my story, to the people right in front of them. The ones they're walking past every day. The ones they've written off as lost causes. He paused. Because every single person you meet is carrying a symphony inside them. You just have to be willing to listen. Because sometimes, the hardest stories are the ones that heal us all.